I told you there are places on Earth so dangerous, mysterious, or sacred that stepping foot there could get you arrested? Or worse. These aren't just spots surrounded by barbed wire and warning signs. These are the kinds of places where governments, religious groups, or nature itself has drawn a hard line in the sand and said no humans allowed. From secret military zones to ancient tombs cursed by time, let's dive into forbidden places on Earth you'll never be allowed to visit. You won't just be banned from landing here, you're not even allowed to fly over it. Located in the remote waters of the Indian Ocean, Diego Garcia is one of the most secretive and strategic military bases on Earth. It's jointly operated by the United States and the United Kingdom, and it plays a major role in global surveillance, intelligence gathering, and military logistics. But its dark history goes even deeper. In the 1960s and 70s, the island's native Chagosian people were forcibly removed from their homeland to make way for the base, and many were never allowed to return. Since then, Diego Garcia has been shrouded in secrecy. The airspace above it is completely restricted, the waters around it are patrolled, and any unauthorized access by sea or air is considered a serious breach of international security. There's an island in Hawaii you're probably not allowed to step foot on, even if you're American. Niihau, often called the Forbidden Island, has remained isolated from the outside world for more than 150 years. Privately owned by the Robinson family since 1864, the island is a living time capsule. With no paved roads, no internet, no shops, and no modern infrastructure, it preserves a version of Hawaiian life that barely exists anywhere else. Only native Hawaiians who live there, invited guests, and a few government officials are allowed entry. Even the US military, which briefly used the island for training during World War II, has long since backed off. Attempts to open the island to tourism have repeatedly failed, and to this day it remains a place that even most Hawaiians will never see. This museum had to rethink everything after the most daring jewel heist in modern history. Housed inside the Royal Palace of Dresden, Germany, the Green Vault was once considered the most secure museum in Europe. It held priceless treasures including 18th century royal jewels, diamond-encrusted swords, and gold figurines. But in 2019, the impossible happened. Thieves broke in, disabled part of the security system, and stole over $120 million worth of jewels in a matter of minutes, most of which have never been recovered. Since that day, access to the Green Vault has changed dramatically. Security has been tightened to an almost militarized level, and many of the most valuable artifacts are now either off display or stored in areas completely closed to the public. What was once a showcase of opulence is now one of the most heavily guarded and restricted cultural sites in Europe. This royal tomb holds ancient secrets, but no one is allowed to disturb them. King Munmu, the first emperor to unify the Korean peninsula, requested to be buried at sea when he died in 681 AD. His tomb is believed to lie beneath a rocky islet just off the coast of South Korea. According to legend, his spirit would transform into a dragon and protect the country from invaders. The tomb is sacred, and for over 1,000 years, no one has been allowed to excavate or explore it. Modern technology could uncover what's beneath, but cultural respect and religious tradition keep the site untouched. It's not protected by fences or armed guards, but by something even stronger: an unspoken pact not to disturb the emperor's eternal vigil. Some believe it's the most controversial burial site in the world. In the heart of Srinagar, India, the Rosabal Shrine is an unassuming stone structure that's become the center of a global mystery. Some researchers claim the tomb inside belongs to Jesus Christ, suggesting he survived the crucifixion and lived out the rest of his life in Kashmir. It's a theory that challenges everything we think we know, and it's one that many people, both religious and political, want buried. The Indian government has shut down access to the tomb, and the surrounding area is closely monitored. Even locals are discouraged from discussing its true identity. Whether it holds the remains of Christ or not, Rosabal remains one of the most politically and spiritually sensitive places on Earth.
In November 1961, 23-year-old Michael Rockefeller disappeared off the coast of what's now part of Indonesia. He was from the famous Rockefeller family and had gone there to collect art from the Azmat people. He and a Dutch anthropologist named Rene Wassing were traveling by canoe when it flipped in choppy water a few miles from shore. Their local guide swam for help. Michael and Rene held on to the overturned hull and waited. Well, the next morning came, and Michael decided that he was going to swim for land using empty fuel cans to stay afloat. He told Rene he thought he could make it. Rene was rescued the following day. Michael was never found. Planes, boats, and search parties on foot swept the area, but they turned up nothing. The coastline there is brutal, though, with strong currents. It's also crawling with crocodiles. The official story was that he drowned, but there's also a good chance crocs got to him. In November 1996, a teenage boy named Damien Nettles went out with his friends on a Saturday night in the Isle of Wight off England's south coast. The security camera caught him at a fish and chip shop later that evening. He was around 6'4", pretty hard to miss. CCTV also caught him a little after midnight walking alone down the street, eating as he went. And that was the last confirmed sighting of him. A few people who crossed paths with him that night said he looked pretty intoxicated and confused. One saw him trying the doors of a parked car. Another remembered him getting on a bus, talking to the driver, trying to take a picture with his camera, then getting off and thanking the guy. Someone else said he walked up to their car while they were waiting, mumbled something like, "They are watching us," wiped some rain off the window, then wandered off. There were some issues with the handling of the investigation, too. Some key footage went missing, records disappeared, and police initially treated Damien like a missing adult instead of a minor. Police made multiple arrests over the years based on tips, but no one was ever charged. His mom never bought the idea that he just fell into the water. She believed something more happened involving people he might have run into that night, but to this day, the case is still unsolved. In July 1937, Amelia Earhart and her navigator Fred Noonan disappeared somewhere near Howland Island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Amelia was in the middle of her famous attempt to fly around the world. The leg they were on, from New Guinea to Howland, was over 2,500 miles across open water. A Coast Guard ship was waiting at Howland to help guide them by radio. The radio communication started breaking down, though. Amelia's last transmission said they were searching for the island and running low on fuel. And then, nothing. A massive search covered the area but found no wreckage, no signals, nothing at all. Howland Island is tiny and sits very low in the water. If you're even slightly off course, you could fly right past it and never see it. Most explanations come back to a combination of navigation error, radio failure, weather, running out of fuel over the open water. There are also plenty of other theories. Maybe they were captured. Maybe they actually lived and just went into hiding. There's a conspiracy about Amelia Earhart being involved in espionage and wanting to start a new life. It's a rabbit hole, one I've dove into on the channel before. We have entire videos based on this one case alone, but to this day, we don't really know what happened. Amelia, Fred, and their plane have never been found. Arthur Kingsley Porter was a Harvard professor, art history, studied old buildings and ruins all across Europe. In the summer of 1933, he and his wife Lucy were staying at their cottage on Inishbofin, a small island off the west coast of Ireland. He was in his 50s. He used the place as a retreat to work and get away from everything. One stormy evening, he stepped outside and never came back, though. His wife, along with two local fishermen, searched all through the night for him, but he was nowhere to be found. And in the days and weeks that followed, no body ever washed up. The inquest called it misadventure. The weather was bad. The cliffs around the island are steep. It seemed like a reasonable explanation. North Sentinel Island sits in the Andaman Sea. Belongs to India, but Indians themselves don't actually live there. No one can even visit. The government keeps it strictly off limits to outsiders. The Sentinelese people live there for thousands of years and have chosen to have no contact with the outside world. The problem is they can die off really quickly if some visitor from some outside place even just brings a cold in. So they cut the island off completely. But in November 2018, a 26-year-old American Christian missionary named John Allen Chow paid local fishermen to bring him close to the island. He spent years preparing for this. He made a few attempts to approach the shore. Each time, the Sentinelese came out with bows and arrows and made it very clear that he was not welcome. But he'd pull back, write about the encounter in his notes, and try again. On his final attempt, he went ashore alone. The fishermen watching from a distance saw the islanders confront him. He never made it back to the boat. His body was spotted being dragged along the beach days later. But finally, North Sentinel Island comes up again here. In January 2006, two Indian fishermen named Sundir Raj and Pandit Tiwari were out crabbing in the restricted waters near the island. Their anchor dragged overnight, and the current slowly pulled their boat toward the shallows. The Sentinelese found them. Other fishermen nearby later reported that the two men were attacked. Their bodies were left on the beach. A Coast Guard helicopter flew over a few days later and saw the scene from the air, but nobody landed. Islanders eventually just buried them there.
Even the people who live nearby rarely visit this haunted island. Rapa Iti, or Little Rapa, is a rugged volcanic island in French Polynesia, far removed from the world's usual travel routes. It's surrounded by sharp cliffs and unpredictable seas, making access extremely difficult. The island is covered in ancient stone fortresses and ruins, remnants of a once powerful society that vanished mysteriously. Local oral traditions tell of spirits that protected the land and punish outsiders who attempt to disturb it. While technically not illegal to visit, the island is spiritually taboo. Locals believe anyone who tries to explore the ruins without permission may suffer from illness, storms, or even vanish without explanation. It's less of a legal ban and more of a supernatural warning that no one really wants to test. Underneath a sleepy town in Normandy sits one of France's most closely guarded secrets. At first glance, Certainville looks like any quiet French coastal village, but beneath its surface lies a classified Cold War-era bunker that reportedly houses France's nuclear communication and emergency protocols. The Certainville Vault is rarely mentioned in public records, and its exact coordinates are unknown to most. Locals have reported heavy military traffic, strange antenna arrays, and secured compounds that are never explained. The government refuses to comment on its purpose. While there are no obvious barriers or signs, attempting to get close results in immediate confrontation with armed guards. It's a ghost facility, one whose presence is undeniable, but whose function remains completely hidden from public knowledge. Some parts of the desert are more than just sand, and this one is completely sealed off. Just outside the city of Ha'il in northern Saudi Arabia lies a vast stretch of desert that's officially restricted by the military. The area contains thousands of ancient rock carvings, some dating back over 10,000 years, as well as towering megaliths that hint at forgotten civilizations. But despite its cultural significance, the region is completely off limits to the public. Scholars believe the government may be hiding archaeological sites or possibly even modern facilities beneath the sands. Locals have shared stories of drones being shot down, cars being stopped at unmarked checkpoints, and mysterious lights appearing on the horizon. Whatever's out there, it's being kept under tight control. This is where America buried its radioactive shame, and it's leaking. During the Cold War, the US conducted 67 nuclear tests in the Marshall Islands, devastating both the land and the people. To contain the waste, the US military built the Runit Dome, a massive concrete cap over a crater left by a nuclear blast on Runit Island. Beneath the dome are tons of radioactive soil, debris, and weapon remnants. But here's the terrifying part. The dome is cracking. Rising sea levels and erosion have weakened the structure, and scientists now warn it could leak plutonium into the Pacific. The island is completely off limits, not just because of government policy, but because stepping foot on it could mean long-term radiation poisoning. It is a ticking time bomb sealed in concrete. Speaking of radiation poisoning, you can visit Chernobyl, but there's one part that's off limits, probably forever. While the Chernobyl exclusion zone in Ukraine has been opened to guided tours and researchers, Reactor 4, the exact site of the 1986 explosion, remains deeply restricted. The damaged core was initially encased in concrete, but over time it began to crack and leak radiation. In 2016, a new steel sarcophagus called the New Safe Confinement was slid over it, sealing off the most radioactive materials. Even scientists aren't allowed allowed to enter without full hazmat suits, respirators, and special permissions. Radiation inside could still kill a person within minutes. For now, and possibly for centuries, Reactor 4 will remain sealed, quiet, and glowing with the consequences of mankind's biggest nuclear mistake.
In December 1900, 3 lighthouse keepers disappeared from a tiny rock island called Eileen Moor, off the northwest coast of Scotland. Their names were James Ducat, Thomas Marshall, and Donald MacArthur, all experienced men who'd been keeping that light running through some of the worst weather the North Atlantic could throw at them. A relief keeper named Joseph Moore showed up on the 26th, after nobody had spotted the light burning for days. He walked in, and the place looked completely normal. Lamps were clean, kitchen was tidy, nothing was really out of place, other than the fact that the men were nowhere to be found. Their outdoor coats were missing, the clocks hadn't been wound, and the last log entry was from the 13th. A huge storm had ripped through right around that time. The Lighthouse Board's best guess was that a wave had caught them while they were outside near the cliffs, checking on something, and pulled them into the sea, but no one can say for sure. Search teams came out and found absolutely no sign of them. Again, these weren't inexperienced men. They knew those cliffs and they knew the risks. So the idea that all 3 of them got dragged off by a wave is definitely possible, but it is pretty strange. Palmyra Atoll is about 1,000 miles south of Hawaii, a ring of tiny islands and reefs with a lagoon in the middle, surrounded by a whole lot of nothing. In the summer of 1974, 2 couples ended up there at the same time. First, ex-con Wesley Walker and Stephanie Stearns sailed in on their beat-up boat Lola at the end of July. They were hoping to stay long-term, but were already running low on supplies and struggling. And on July 2nd, Malcolm Mac Graham and his wife Eleanor Graham arrived from San Diego on their yacht Seawind. Mac had fixed up the boat himself, and they were experienced sailors who'd even gone around the world before. They all interacted some. Mac even shared food and helped with their boat at times, but there was some clear tension. Both couples had expected the place to themselves. The Grahams radioed a friend for the last time on August 28th. After that, silence. And weeks later, in October, the Seawind showed up in Hawaii Harbor, freshly painted, now with no name. Walker and Stearns were on it. Their story was that they went to dinner on the Graham's boat, and the couple just never showed up. They claimed they searched for the couple for days, then took the Seawind when they couldn't find them. They got convicted for taking the yacht. But in 1981, other visitors on the island found human bones on the beach. They were Eleanor's. Mac was never found. Wesley Walker ended up being convicted for the death of Eleanor, but there have always been conflicting stories and open-ended questions surrounding this case. It's never really had a satisfying conclusion. Clipperton Island is a tiny atoll sitting out in the Pacific a long way off the coast of Mexico, and not too close to much of anything. It's a rough place. The ground is covered in sharp coral, crabs are everywhere, sharks circle the island, and very little grows there. But around 1910, Mexico sent soldiers and their families to occupy the island. Why? Well, there were a few other countries that wanted it: France, the United States, and Britain. So about 26 people ended up living there under the command of Ramon Arnaut. When the Mexican Revolution broke out, supply ships stopped coming. Before long, food ran low, their crops failed, people started getting sick and dying off. Things got even worse when Arnaut and the last remaining soldiers spotted what they thought was a ship on the horizon. Desperate to be rescued, they launched their only boat and headed out to sea. The ship turned out to be a mirage, and all of the men drowned. That left only the women, children, and the lighthouse keeper, Victoriano Alvarez. And he quickly showed his true colors. Alvarez took total control of the island, ruled over the survivors for nearly 2 years. He was absolutely brutal, a tyrant, to put it lightly. But finally, in July 1917, 3 women confronted and ultimately ended up killing him. Almost immediately afterward, rescue finally arrived. The USS Yorktown spotted signs of life on the island and managed to get a boat through the reefs. The crew found 3 women and 8 children still alive. St. Joseph Island sits in Lake Huron in Canada, connected to the main line by a bridge, but still fairly cut off. In December 2001, a boy named Justin Polari walked out of his home after an argument with his family and was never seen again. He was last spotted in specific clothing, including a pair of earrings, Search teams went over the island and surrounding water, but they came up empty. His family's belief, and the belief of a lot of people in the community, is that he never left the island. The bridge gets noticed, boats get noticed, and nobody reported seeing him cross. In his mother's own words, he never left the island. There's no way you can get off the island without somebody seeing you. So, if that is the case though, if he never left the island, then what happened to him? Unfortunately, nobody knows. His mother's kept pushing for answers ever since. The case is still open.
It's just a reef, so why are warships patrolling it? Bajo Nuevo Bank is a small reef in the Caribbean Sea, but it's claimed by multiple nations. Colombia, Nicaragua, the US, and Jamaica. Tensions have made it a flashpoint for geopolitical disputes. It's mostly underwater, and aside from a few beacons and sandbars, there's not much to see, but attempts to explore or land near it without authorization can result in military confrontation. Researchers, divers, and tourists are officially banned. In other words, don't go reef hopping here unless you want to start an international incident. Imagine an island that appeared on maps for centuries and then just vanished. Bermeja Island was once located in the Gulf of Mexico, at least according to old Spanish maps. It was considered a strategic location for oil and territorial claims, but when Mexican officials went looking for it in the late 1990s, they found nothing. No sand, no rock, nothing but water. Some say the island sank due to seismic activity, others believe it was intentionally destroyed to influence maritime boundaries. Now, even entering the region around its coordinates requires authorization due to nearby oil zones. Whether it vanished naturally or was erased on purpose, no one's allowed to investigate up close anymore. Beneath the sparkling waters of Egypt lies one of the deadliest diving spots in the world. The blue hole near Dab in the Red Sea looks beautiful from above, but below, it's a vertical sinkhole over 100 meters deep. The danger comes from a feature called the Arch, a deceptive tunnel that leads to open water. Many divers get disoriented and run out of air trying to find it. Over 200 deaths have occurred here, and some say the real number is even higher than that. While casual divers can visit the edges, the Egyptian government has banned deeper exploration unless you're officially certified, because many who tried never came back. This place is so remote, the closest humans to it are usually astronauts. Point Nemo, located in the South Pacific, is the farthest point away from any land on Earth. It's so isolated that it's been used as the spacecraft cemetery by international space agencies. Hundreds of satellites and even parts of space stations are deorbited to crash into the spot. It's not illegal to travel there, but it is kind of impossible. No ships patrol it, no flights pass overhead, and since it's in the middle of the ocean gyre, debris and pollution accumulate in massive quantities. It is a dead zone and a forbidden frontier for exploration due to both logistics and environmental toxicity. It looks like a tropical dream, but this island was ground zero for hell on Earth. Between 1946 and 1958, the US detonated 23 nuclear bombs at Bikini Atoll in the Marshall Islands. These tests left the entire area contaminated with radiation. The most famous test, codenamed Castle Bravo, was more than 1,000 times stronger than Hiroshima. Residents were evacuated before the tests, but when some returned decades later, their crops and water were still unsafe. Today, Bikini Atoll is technically open, but it is highly restricted. You'll need special permits to even visit, and diving in the lagoon is off limits in many areas. It is a beautiful place hiding invisible dangers. You may recognize the name from Indiana Jones, but the real city of Tanis holds secrets no movie could explain. Once a mighty capital of Egypt's 21st and 22nd dynasties, Tanis was home to massive temples, golden tombs, and advanced water systems. But as the Nile shifted course, the city was slowly abandoned and forgotten. Archaeologists uncovered parts of it in the 20th century, massive stone blocks, cryptic sarcophagi, and structures unlike others in Egypt. But then, work abruptly stopped. The reason? severe flooding, according to officials, but satellite images show large portions of Tanis still visible and military equipment near the site. Some believe Tanis was intentionally reburied due to what was found in one of its untouched tombs, items that don't appear to be of Egyptian origin. For years, rumors swirled of chambers beneath the Sphinx. Then, someone found them, and the Egyptian government said nothing. In 1999, British explorer Andrew Collins uncovered what appeared to be an entrance to a cave system near the Sphinx at Giza. This lined up with ancient writings that spoke of a hall of records buried near the monument. Collins' team, using ground-penetrating radar, found deep voids stretching beneath the plateau, but shortly after their discovery, Egyptian officials locked down the site and denied any significance. The caves still haven't been fully mapped. Some claim the chambers hold scrolls from a lost civilization. Others say what's down there is too dangerous or too world-shaking to ever reveal. An ancient desert city said to be destroyed by divine wrath was allegedly rediscovered, then quickly erased. Iram of the Pillars is mentioned in the Quran and in Arabian legends as a wealthy city that defied the gods and was swallowed by the desert. In the 1990s, satellite scans by NASA revealed what appeared to be an ancient trade route and a buried city in southern Egypt's desert near the Libyan border. Initial excavations uncovered pillars, massive stone blocks, and what looked like ziggurat-style structures, completely unlike other Egyptian architecture. Then, suddenly, operations ceased. No reports, no photos. The site was declared a national security zone. Some believe Iram was a city that predates dynastic Egypt, and rewriting history that far back might be something authorities just aren't ready to do. In 1901, explorers claimed to find an underground city near the temple of Seti I in Abydos, and then vanished from history. Abydos is one of Egypt's most sacred sites, believed to be the gateway to the afterlife. Beneath it, a hidden entrance led to what early 20th century explorers described as vast tunnels, rooms, and what appeared to be an entire underground complex. This city was rumored to contain depictions of strange flying machines, gods with elongated skulls, and advanced tools carved into the stone. Today, the Egyptian government admits that there are tunnels under Abydos, but exploration is strictly forbidden. Officials cite collapse risks, but no new permits have been issued in over 70 years. What lies beneath Abydos may not just rewrite history, it might question who really built it. Egypt holds more secrets than we'll ever fully know, and these cities, hidden, sealed off, or simply erased from maps, are a chilling reminder that history isn't always in the textbooks. Sometimes it's buried on purpose.
Take a look at these pictures right here. These are the abandoned British sea forts known as the Mountcel forts. Perched on stilts in the middle of the sea, these forts were designed to be self-sufficient and isolated, and you definitely get a sense of that isolation and confinement looking at them. There's a haunting appeal about this place. They were used during the Second World War and have now been left to rot, and their harsh conditions leave behind a very terrifying history. Exploring these abandoned sea forts is not for the faint of heart. Historians can only read about them now. As you can probably tell, they aren't the sturdiest, so they're a tad too dangerous to explore. The structures are unstable, the seas are also treacherous, and the weather can be unpredictable, so accessing these forts is illegal and extremely dangerous. But this, of course, makes them even more alluring to thrill seekers and urban explorers. Next, we have Dalia's Cave. Dalia's Cave has been associated with mystery and the paranormal for centuries. It was used by various religious groups throughout history, and there are numerous tales of strange occurrences within the depths of these caves. Although fascinating, it is very dangerous for historians to explore. The cave's intricate network of tunnels can easily lead to disorientation. In some areas, the airflow can be restricted as well, making it difficult to breathe. So imagine being confused and lost in this dark cave, and then all of a sudden, you can't even breathe. Not ideal. Visitors often report strange occurrences here, like unexplained noises, cold spots where there shouldn't be, and feelings of being watched. Some visitors claim to have seen shadowy figures moving through the darkness, further adding to the cave's reputation as a haunted location. Pripyat, once a vibrant city in northern Ukraine, stands as a haunting testament to the Chernobyl Chernobyl nuclear disaster of 1986. It was designed to house the workers of the nearby Chernobyl nuclear power plant. Pripyat was a symbol of Soviet progress at the time, boasting modern architecture, schools, hospitals, and a bustling community. But on April 26, 1986, a catastrophic reactor explosion at the plant released this plume of radioactive material into the atmosphere, forcing the immediate evacuation of the city's then 49,000 residents. Today, Pripyat remains a ghost town, frozen in time. Its decaying apartment blocks, the schools, and even the amusement park, which was never even used, are now overgrown with vegetation, creating this surreal, eerie landscape. The Ferris wheel, intended to bring joy to children, now stands as a symbol of the city's abrupt demise. Radiation levels in the area are still elevated, making it a restricted zone, accessible only to authorized personnel, then tourists on guided tours. From Ukraine over to an island in Japan now, we have Hashima Island. The island was once a busy coal mining community, but it also served as a site of forced labor. During World War II, thousands of Korean and Chinese workers were brought to this island under harsh conditions and faced brutal treatment once they were there. Many died from accidents, disease, and malnutrition. In the 60s, as Japan shifted towards oil and gas, the demand for coal declined, and Hashima's mines became unprofitable. In 1974, the last residents were evacuated, leaving the island abandoned. The remains of the community still stand, its buildings now having fallen into disrepair. The decaying infrastructure, overgrown vegetation, and the eerie silence creates a sense of desolation and foreboding. Because of the dangerous conditions and the risk of accidents, access to Hashima Island was restricted for many years.
We have the cradle of humankind. Beneath South Africa's rugged landscape lies the cradle of humankind, a sprawling 47,000-hectare labyrinth of limestone caves just 50 kilometers northwest of Johannesburg that history seems desperate to keep secret. This World Heritage Site isn't your typical tourist stop. It is a forbidden vault of time where every cave and crevice hides relics from the dawn of humanity. At Bolt's Farm, early primates were first discovered, setting the stage for a series of jaw-dropping finds that would challenge everything we thought we knew about our origins. In the eerie depths of the Sterkfontein caves, researchers unearthed Mrs. Plez, a 2.3 million year old fossil whose discovery reshaped the story of human evolution, while nearby, the Rising Star Cave system shocked the world with the unearthing of Homo naledi, a mysterious species whose deliberate burial of its dead hints at a level of ritualistic behavior once reserved for modern humans. With every fossil and stalactite, this hidden network whispers secrets of ancient lives and lost worlds. Next, we are talking about Pluto's Gate. The Plutonian at Hierapolis, also known as Pluto's Gate, is one of the most bizarre and forbidden places in history, tucked in a quiet corner of modern-day Turkey. Beneath the ruins of this ancient sanctuary lies a cave that spews toxic gases so potent that even the air itself is deadly. As early as the 2nd century BC, ancient worshippers believed this ominous site was the literal gateway to the underworld, where animals and even humans would be sacrificially thrown into the cavern only to be dragged out lifeless moments later. The gases here, still potent enough to suffocate birds today, were believed to be the breath of Pluto himself. Visitors could pay for a chance to witness animals' quick demise or to ask questions from Pluto's oracle. Yet the real draw wasn't just the spectacle, it was the mystical aura that priests, immune to the gas, cultivated around their supposed divine powers. These priests of Pluto deliberately entered the cave to prove their otherworldly protection, leaving a legacy of ritual deaths and eerie miracles. Closed off during the Christian era, the gate took on an even more forbidding charisma, its dark history igniting imaginations about the secrets it once guarded, secrets that remain locked behind its crumbling facade today. Next, we are talking about Kolmanskop. Kolmanskop stands as a striking relic of opulence and abandonment in Namibia's unforgiving Namib Desert. Once a booming diamond mining town built in the grand German style, it boasted everything from a hospital and ballroom to Africa's first tram and an X-ray station. Named after a transport driver who lost his ox wagon during a fierce sandstorm, farm, this town thrived when diamonds were discovered in 1908, drawing settlers who even built private railways connecting Coleman's to nearby towns and even beyond. But as World War I depleted the diamond fields and a richer find emerged 260 kilometers to the south, the town's glitter faded, leaving its streets gradually swallowed by relentless sand. Today, the eerie beauty of crumbling Edwardian mansions and desert-engulfed homes attract intrepid explorers and photographers, though entering this once flourishing jewel of German Southwest Africa now requires a special permit due to its location in a restricted area. Next, we are talking about the Kola Peninsula military base. Deep in northern Russia, the Kola Peninsula is rapidly transforming into a high-stakes battleground that the world's superpowers are watching with bated breath. Here in the heart of one of Russia's most secretive and heavily fortified regions, new underground missile storage bunkers are being built at breakneck speed, each one an impenetrable fortress, shielded by layers of barbed wire and guarded by armed checkpoints. These hidden facilities, some of the most secure in the world, house Russia's most powerful nuclear and conventional weapons, including the feared Borai-class submarines and their deadly Balava missiles. As the Northern Fleet readies its newest arsenal, it's not just about defending Russia's borders. The Kola Peninsula is at the center of a long-standing military strategy to control the Barents Sea, a move that directly impacts NATO countries like Norway with strategic missile threats and the looming possibility of military escalation. This is no ordinary military base. This is like a forbidden fortress, brimming with secrets and a constant reminder of the high tensions and fragile peace that define the Arctic's geopolitical landscape. Entering this realm isn't just a breach of territory, it's a potential spark for global conflict. And with Russia's expanding military presence, the Kola Peninsula remains one of the most strategically crucial yet hidden military sites shaping the future of global power. Next, we are talking about the Georgia Nuclear Aircraft Laboratory. Deep in the heart of Dawson Forest in Dawsonville, Georgia, a relic of Cold War secrets awaits discovery. A forgotten test site where the United States Air Force and Lockheed once dared to explore the unthinkable. At the Georgia Nuclear Aircraft Laboratory, also known as AFP number 67, scientists pushed the boundaries of possibility by experimenting with nuclear-powered aircraft and subjecting military equipment, and even the forest itself, to the harsh realities of nuclear radiation. Closed in 1971 and later deemed unsuitable for a new Atlanta airport, this eerie site still harbors classified mysteries with only concrete foundations marking where reactors and buildings once stood. The underground section remains accessible, but is now entirely flooded, save for a few shallow pockets, leaving behind a haunting reminder of a time when the very environment was a laboratory for nuclear warfare. Next, we are talking about Black Mountain. Black Mountain is no ordinary rock formation in far north Queensland. It is a forbidden battleground where ancient clan wars and restless spirits have left their mark on towering, jet-black granite boulders. For local groups, this sacred land is steeped in legend, a place where epic battles once raged, from the last fatal clash between black and white cockatoos to mythic fights between giant brothers whose stone-throwing quarrels shaped the very landscape. Since the late 1800s, mysterious vanishings, couriers, cattlemen, and even police trackers have fueled eerie tales of people being swallowed by the mountain's dark forces. Elders warn that disrespecting the mountain is like meddling with a cursed Ouija board. One wrong step can leave you haunted by the same torment that once drove a headstrong visitor into a spiral of supernatural dread. Even geologist Gavin Deere, a man of science, confesses that at night, the wind whistling through these colossal boulders sounds like howling souls trapped in eternal limbo. This is a place where history, mystery, and myth collide, a mysterious frontier that challenges all who dare to tread its sacred ground without reverence.
In the Gansu province of China, there's an entire city that's been abandoned for decades. It's called 404, but it doesn't appear on any map and
doesn't have an official name. The city was built in 1958, and its purpose was kept completely secret for years. At one time, it was home to around 100,000 people, but they weren't regular citizens. The people who lived there were top nuclear scientists, doctors, and engineers, and their families. All moved there to work in China's nuclear bomb program. 404 had everything you'd expect in a town: its own government, police force, even a TV station, and a prison. But what set it apart from any other city was the underground defense system they'd built in case of a nuclear attack. In 1964, just 6 years after 404 was finished, China successfully detonated its first nuclear bomb in the Gobi Desert, not far from 404. Eventually, though, the city started falling apart. By 2006, cave-ins and decay made it unsafe, and the people who lived there were moved out, and it's been empty ever since. People rarely ever talk about it. No one ever goes there. It's almost like it never even existed. Portlock is a ghost town in Alaska that was once home to a busy salmon cannery in the early 20th century. By 1951, though, the town was completely deserted. It had started to fall apart in the 40s when strange things started happening. Hunters would go into the woods and never return. Sometimes their bodies would be found, though, mangled and unrecognizable. The locals started to believe that something was out there hunting them. The eerie stories didn't stop there. People claimed to hear strange sounds at night, like growls or large footsteps in the forest. Some say they saw large, hairy creatures moving between the trees. Many began blaming the mysterious vanishings on a terrifying creature called the Nantinak, described as a large, hairy beast similar to Sasquatch or the Yeti. With all the unexplained disappearances and the sightings of the Nantinak, people decided it was probably time to leave and go somewhere else. By the early 50s, everyone had abandoned the town. No one has really lived there since. Even today, Portlock is one of the most avoided places in Alaska. It's hard to get to, sure, but it's also feared for what might still be lurking in the shadows. The Capuchin Catacombs in Palermo, Italy is an underground burial site that holds thousands of skeletons and mummies. Built in the 16th century, they were meant to house monks, but over time, wealthy or otherwise important citizens started being buried there too. As more bodies were added, they were preserved in various ways, some of them standing, others lying down, some mummified, some just skeletons. There's something deeply unsettling about how these bodies are displayed, as though they're still alive, but just frozen in time. Many of the bodies are in their original clothing, and the ones that are mummified, you're looking at the faces of people who lived centuries ago. In 1920, the last body was added to these catacombs. Of course, because of the way the bodies are arranged and how creepy the whole place feels, there are stories about hauntings. People have reported hearing whispers or strange noises coming from the catacombs, and some even say the eyes of the mummies will follow them. One of the most famous mummies is Rosalia Lombardo, a young girl who is almost perfectly preserved. Honestly, we can't even show her on here because it's just too creepy. It's really, icky. Yeah, the preservation is so good that some visitors have claimed to see her eyes open as if her spirit is still trapped in her mummified body. Prato is a beautiful abandoned town in southern Italy, perched on a hill in the Basilicata region. This place has a history dating back to the 8th century when it was founded by the Greeks, and over the years, Prato grew, especially during the medieval period. The town's economy was mainly built on agriculture and craftsmanship. It wasn't just a small village, it was an important community for a long time. But things started going wrong in the 20th century. In 1963, a massive landslide hit the area and forced many of the residents to leave their homes and move down to a nearby valley. The town didn't get much of a break after that. There were earthquakes in 1972 and 1980 that caused even more damage. By that time, the place was pretty much uninhabitable, and the government officially declared it a ghost town. The remaining people had no choice but to leave, mainly for safety reasons. Centralia, Pennsylvania is a small town that was abandoned thanks to a fire that's been burning underground since 1962. It's often described as one of the most dangerous and eerie abandoned places in the United States. The fire started in a coal mine beneath the town, and it never really stopped. The entire town was eventually evacuated because of the toxic gases leaking from the ground, and over time, homes, businesses, and roads were consumed by the fire. The town is still technically off limits to visitors, visitors, and while a few people still live in the area, most of the buildings are gone, and the land is cracked and scarred. There are signs warning people not to enter, as the ground is prone to sudden subsidence, meaning whole sections could just collapse. The whole town feels like an opening to hell, with smoke constantly seeping from the ground, and the fact that the ground under your feet can fall away at any time, sending you plummeting into a decades-long raging fire down below.
There's a part of the ocean so rich in mystery that even fishermen aren't allowed near it. Area P, this massive stretch of ocean in the northwestern Hawaiian Islands, is larger than many countries. It's protected for ecological and cultural reasons, but access is strictly controlled. Fishing is banned. Tourism is nearly impossible. The area contains sacred native Hawaiian sites, rare coral species, and ecosystems that haven't changed for thousands of years. Scientists need government clearance just to study it. It's one of the most pristine and protected places in the ocean, and if you're caught exploring without permission, well, expect a massive fine. You'd think we'd have explored the deepest part of our planet by now. Nope. Challenger Deep, nearly 11 kilometers beneath the surface in the Mariana Trench, is the deepest known point in Earth's oceans. Only a handful of people, fewer than have ever walked on the moon, have ever visited. And while it's not officially forbidden, the technology and risk required to get there makes it effectively off limits. The immense pressure down there can crush a submarine like a soda can. Even deep-sea rovers sometimes malfunction. Scientists believe there could be unknown species or even ancient extremophiles living there, but until exploration becomes safer, this abyss will stay largely untouched. Boats vanish, compasses fail, and governments have quietly pulled back from this stretch of sea. Off the coast of Japan, the Dragon's Triangle, or Devil's Sea, is a real region with documented aircraft disappearances, vanishing vessels, and strange magnetic anomalies. Japan has declared parts of it dangerous to navigate, and some areas are restricted entirely due to submarine activity and volcanic instability. Legends claim underwater pyramids and time distortions, but the truth is unsettling enough. Dozens of ships and crew have gone missing without a trace, and no one's allowed to openly explore the zone's deeper mysteries. Over 350 ships have disappeared around this island, and almost no one is allowed on it. Sable Island, a crescent-shaped sandbar off Nova Scotia, is infamous for deadly fogs, shallow waters, and shifting sandbanks. Known as the Graveyard of the Atlantic, it's also home to wild horses and fragile ecosystems. The Canadian government has declared it a national park reserve, but access is tightly controlled. Tourists can't visit without a special permit, and only a few researchers, park staff, and authorized scientists are allowed to step foot there. It's a place full of ghosts, both natural and nautical, and one the ocean seems determined to keep hidden. Technically public land, but if you try to get close, you will be intercepted. Located in the Timor Sea, these islands are surrounded by rich marine biodiversity, shallow reefs, and, you guessed it, complete government lockdown. Australia has designated the waters as a marine reserve, but it's also home to classified surveillance and military monitoring systems. The Navy routinely patrols the region, and unauthorized boats are turned away. Even scientific access is tightly restricted. What exactly is being watched there? No one outside the Defense Department knows.
Elitz-Hillstatten is an enormous abandoned hospital complex about 30 miles outside Berlin. Originally built in 1898, it was first designed to treat tuberculosis patients, which was a huge health issue at the time. The hospital had 60 buildings meant to provide the best care, lots of fresh air and rest for patients, but when World War I hit, it became a military hospital for the Imperial German Army. The soon-to-be head of the Third Reich himself was treated here after being wounded in the Battle of the Somme in 1916. That fact alone makes the place pretty eerie. And then during World War II, it was once again used as a hospital for wounded German soldiers. hospitals. After the war, the Soviets took control though, and it became a Soviet military hospital. Erich Honecker, the last leader of East Germany, was also treated here for liver cancer in the 90s, so there's a lot of history here. Most of the hospital is abandoned now, and it's pretty spooky. There are some parts that are still used for things like neuro rehab, but most of the complex is just crumbling. It's just empty halls with peeling paint, rusted equipment, broken windows, pretty much your quintessential gross, grimy looking horror movie abandoned hospital. Okinoshima Island off the coast of Japan is a small island that has a really dark history. During World War II, this tiny speck of land became the site of a chemical weapons factory where over 6,000 tons of mustard gas was produced. The factory operated between 1927 and 1945, but after the war, the Japanese government covered up what happened there. All the records were destroyed, and the island was pretty much left to fade into obscurity. Today, the island is known for something you'd probably never associate with mustard gas, though: adorable little rabbits. They're all over this island. The chemical weapons factory is now abandoned as well, and even though the island is open to the public, visitors aren't allowed to enter the old plant because it's still contaminated with dangerous chemicals. People believe there may still be hidden caches of mustard gas on the island, but no one really knows because, again, the records were burned. Henderson Island in the South Pacific is completely uninhabited. No tourists, no factories, almost untouched. Sounds peaceful, but somehow the place is full of plastic and garbage. When researchers visited in 2017, they were pretty shocked. Despite no one living there, the island was covered in plastic waste. In fact, it has the highest concentration of plastic ever recorded, with up to 671 pieces of plastic per square meter. The sheer volume of trash on Henderson is just nuts, with over 17 tons of plastic found on the island. You see, Henderson is found within the South Pacific Gyre, a massive ocean current that gathers trash from all around the Pacific and then leaves it on the island. The researchers found plastic items from 24 different countries all washed up on this one island. Every day, over 3,500 new pieces of plastic wash ashore. There have been efforts to clean up the island, with a UK government-led expedition in 2019 removing 6 tons of plastic, but it's still an ongoing issue. It's a wild reminder of just how far-reaching the problem of plastic pollution has become. In Bango City, Philippines, there's an abandoned building that has a very creepy history: the Diplomat Hotel. Originally built as a religious school and a vacation house by the Dominican Order in the 1910s, the hotel was transformed during World War II into a place of pure horror. During the Japanese occupation of the Philippines, the building was a site for mass killings, with many refugees being slaughtered by the Japanese soldiers. After the war, the building was bombed. It was eventually rebuilt as a hotel in 1947. Then in the 70s, it was remodeled, but by 1982, after the death of the hotel's owner, it fell into disrepair. Over the years, people have reported strange things happening in and around the now abandoned building. Locals claim that the hotel is haunted by the spirits of those who died during the war, and some say they've heard horrible, almost otherworldly screams coming from the property late at night. It's said that the hotel is home to the ghosts of priests, nuns, and people who were beheaded during the war. The Valley of the Kings is famous for being the burial site of Egypt's pharaohs and powerful nobles, and it's one of the most well-known archaeological sites in the world. Over the course of nearly 500 years, between the 18th and 20th dynasties, tombs were carved into the rock to house the mummies of kings like Tut and Ramses, but aside from its history, the valley is also known for its eerier stories. Visitors to the valley at night report hearing strange noises like screams and screeching sounds. Some people even have claimed to see a chariot pulled by fiery horses, thought to be driven by King Tut, racing through the desert at night. The most infamous part of the valley is King Tut's tomb, once said to be cursed. Ever since the tomb was discovered in 1922, those involved in the excavation have suffered misfortune. Lord Carnarvon, who founded the expedition, died shortly after the tomb was opened, and some of the other people involved in the dig also met untimely ends. Stories of King Tut's cursed tomb fueled the belief that not only the tomb, but maybe even the entire valley was cursed, and it's kept people wary of the place to this very day, especially after dark.
Next, we are talking about the Darien Gap. The Darien Gap is one of the most treacherous and mysterious stretches of land to cross on the planet. Spanning from southern Panama into northern Colombia, this brutal terrain is the missing link in the Pan-American Highway, where the road ends and survival becomes a real challenge. Stretching over 100 miles of dense jungle, swamplands, and impassable mountains, the Darien is a lawless region that has claimed countless lives throughout history. It's an unforgiving place, flooded with rain, infested with deadly wildlife, and inhabited by criminal organizations that thrive in the lawless void. There are no roads, no guarantees, just the horrific stories of people who have ventured here seeking a new life, many of whom never make it. Aside from the complete lack of infrastructure, the air reeks of danger, where flash floods, poisonous snakes, and murky rivers pose constant threats. Adding to its eerie mystique, the Darien Gap is also home to indigenous tribes and remnants of ancient paths once used by both humans and wildlife moving between the continents. Despite the pervasive danger and the toll it takes on lives, both human and animal, it remains one of the ultimate forbidden frontiers, sitting unclaimed and untouched. Next, we are talking about La Cueva de los Teos. Deep in the shadowy jungles of Ecuador, hidden on the eastern slopes of the Andes, lies Cueva de los Teos, a labyrinthine cave system so steeped in forbidden lore that it reads like an Indiana Jones saga. Known as the Cave of the Oilbirds because of the native nocturnal Teos, this sprawling underground world features a jaw-dropping 65-meter deep shaft leading into 4.6 kilometers of winding passages and vast chambers. Legends claim it houses a mysterious golden library filled with gleaming, hieroglyph-inscribed books allegedly left behind by lost civilizations or even extraterrestrial visitors. In 1976, one of the most ambitious expeditions ever, which even included former astronaut Neil Armstrong, scoured its depths and uncovered ancient burial sites dating back to 1500 BCE and meticulously carved passageways. Yet the fabled treasure trove remained elusive. Next up, we are talking about Kaho'olawe. Hidden beneath the radiant Hawaiian sun lies a forbidden island, scarred by war and shrouded in mystery. Kaho'olawe, this tiny, uninhabited volcanic outcrop just 11 kilometers southwest of Maui, spans less than 45 square miles, yet carries a weighty history. Once a sacred land revered as the physical embodiment of the sea god, this island's ancient stone platforms and petroglyphs whisper secrets of a time when native Hawaiians held it in deep spiritual regard. However, its beauty was marred when the US military transformed the island into a relentless bombing range during World War II and beyond, turning its dry, eroded red landscape into a haunting testament to modern warfare. The scars of thousands of explosions still mar its basaltic lava flows and hard-pan soil, a stark contrast to its former role as a peaceful, life-sustaining haven. In the 1970s, driven by a fierce cultural revival, activists staged daring landings to reclaim this desecrated land, igniting a movement that eventually led to the island's return to Hawaiian control. Now, it is designated as a cultural reserve. The island is off-limits to commercial development and is reserved solely for native cultural and spiritual purposes. And finally, to end off this list today, we are talking about the hidden chamber of Samarkand. Deep within the centuries-old walls of a forgotten madrasa in Samarkand lies a chamber that has ignited endless whispers and daring dreams. Rumor has it that this hidden room, known only to a select few locals and secretive scholarly circles, safeguards manuscripts and relics dating back to the era of Timur. Artifacts so powerful that they could upend upend our understanding of Central Asian history. The heavy, intricately carved doors of this chamber have remained locked to all but those deemed worthy, their mysterious contents passed down through hushed conversations and coded legends. As modern Samarkand bustles with life, the chamber stands as a silent, timeless mystery, its secrets fiercely guarded against the curious and uninvited. Every mention of this concealed trove adds another layer of allure, drawing historians, treasure seekers, and adventurers to wonder what lost wisdom lies hidden behind its sealed facade.
Starting us off at number 10 is Bhutan. Situated in the eastern Himalayas between China and India, the Kingdom of Bhutan is definitely one of the trickier places in the world to visit. First off, in order to even be considered for entry into this country, a special visa is required, and in order to get that visa, you have to purchase a specified package through an authorized travel agent. From there, the agency will handle the visa application, but the catch is that you must travel with a group. There is no individual travel allowed, and you are required to have a tour operator. If you manage to arrive, your electronics are promptly registered through the Bhutan's Department of Revenue and Customs, and from there is an additional $200 a day tax that is imposed, marketed as a fee to preserve the high quality tourism. Now, the good news is that out of all of the countries on this list, this one doesn't seem to be as risky to visit, but there still are a ton of hoops to jump through that make it a pretty strict destination as a tourist. Coming in at number 9, Somalia. Located in the eastern tip of Africa, this country, while not necessarily off limits entirely, is probably not a place that the average tourist is going to be heading to. For starters, in order to even be allowed to visit the country, you need to obtain a visa in advance of your arrival from the Embassy of the Somali Republic in Kenya. Now, Kenya is a neighboring country found just south of Somalia, but still, it's a lot of jumping around to get the required paperwork. And once you arrive in Kenya to receive your visa, it's not exactly straightforward either. You're required to pay in cash with the local currency, as no credit cards are accepted and no bank machines are on site to get the money out. Now, beyond that, reportedly there are supposed to be some beautiful historic sites. However, due to the current threat of violence, kidnapping, crime, and piracy throughout central Somalia, most outside countries, including the United States and Canada's official recommendation is to not travel here under any circumstances. Coming in at number 8, Brunei. To be honest, out of all the countries on this list, this one is probably one of the safer ones to visit in general, but it still takes a bit more work to arrive than traveling to more popular worldwide destinations. In terms of clerical work, you need a special tourist visa for any stay longer than 2 weeks, and your passport has to have 6 months valid beyond the date you expect to leave Brunei. In addition, you have to register for and possess an e-arrival card prior to landing in the country and prove that you do not have any communicable diseases. If you can check all those boxes, well then, my friend, you actually can enter this country. However, just be careful, as Brunei is an absolute monarchy ruled over by a sultan who follows a mix of Sharia and English law. So if you break any of the laws, you can be subject to prison. Plus, as recently as 2019, the sultan attempted to establish the death penalty by stoning for gay people, and it is still very much illegal to be gay here. So it's not exactly the most welcoming place for many people. Let's just say that. Coming in at number 7, Algeria. Located in northern Africa, just to the east of Morocco, is the country of Algeria, and it is definitely one to be wary of visiting. Firstly, as it has in common with many of the other countries on this list, there are many strict hoops to jump through to even be granted entry into the country. Aside from the usual extended visa, you must also have 6 months valid on your passport instead of the usual 3. You have to provide 2 passport photos, and you have to provide a copy of accommodation confirmation, as well as an authorized invitation into the country that dates prior to your visa application, meaning it's not just somewhere you can decide to jet off to on a whim. Now, while that part may just be some advanced planning, it's only one piece of the puzzle. The big reason this place is officially stated at a high risk level to visit is because many of the bordering countries surrounding Algeria pose a great threat of kidnapping and banditry. Of course, the government of Algeria is doing what they can to protect everyone, but for the meantime, it's probably best to steer clear. Coming in at number 6, Eritrea. Eritrea. Located in the Horn of Africa, the state of Eritrea is absolutely not a country to be planning a trip to anytime soon. For starters, the only place you are allowed to visit with the usual visa application is the capital city of Asmara. And if you, for whatever reason, need to travel beyond that, there is a whole other application that you need to fill out. Now, to be clear, the official advice is to avoid all non-essential travel here, and that is because, well, frankly, it's a pretty dangerous place at the moment. Between the threat of violence set out by terror groups and the threat of piracy, it's somewhere that requires extreme caution. Beyond that, there is a lot of tension with bordering countries, and because of this, the military is on high alert. So truly, it is not the place to visit if you don't have to.
It's been called the Atlantis of the Sahara, an oasis city that appears in medieval texts but disappears from every map. Zerzura was first mentioned in Arab texts as a white city west of the Nile, said to be filled with treasures, strange architecture, and even magical guardians. European explorers in the early 20th century launched expeditions to find it, and some claimed they did, but here's the twist. The Egyptian military now strictly controls large parts of the desert where Zerzura was supposedly located. Satellite imagery has picked up curious formations near the Gilf Kabir Plateau where ancient tracks seem to lead to nowhere. Some believe the ruins are there, but access to this region is tightly restricted. The mystery of Zerzura remains off limits and highly classified. A massive underground network was discovered beneath Abu Sir pyramids, but no one is allowed to enter. In the 1990s, Egyptian archaeologist Dr. Zahi Hawass confirmed the existence of tunnels beneath the ancient site of Abu Sir. These tunnels lead to chambers far underground, some filled with water, others completely sealed, and local legends say a lost city once stood here, later swallowed by sand and time. When a team attempted to explore deeper with advanced tech, they were suddenly shut down by Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities. No official reason was given, but whispers of dangerous air quality, unexplained deaths, and unstable structures started to circulate. Whatever lies beneath Abu Sir is there to stay, at least for now. This entire city was lost for over 1,000 years until it was discovered under the sea and instantly restricted. Heraklion was once one of Egypt's grandest port cities. It was the gateway between the Nile and the Mediterranean, filled with temples, palaces, and statues that rivaled Thebes. But in the 2nd century BC, it sank into the sea, literally. In 2000, French archaeologist Frank Gaudio rediscovered Heraklion under 30 feet of water off the coast of Alexandria. What followed was a massive recovery effort, but only parts of the city have been explored. Why? Because the site is now patrolled by the Egyptian Navy. Military presence and murky restrictions have kept researchers from accessing deeper ruins. Some believe there's a temple buried in the silt that contains forbidden knowledge or sacred texts, but unless the government lifts its hold, those secrets will stay sunken. It's one of the most ominous pyramids in Egypt, and the strange ruins around it are completely locked down. The Black Period of Amenemhat III, located in Dashur, is rarely talked about. Why? Because the surrounding settlement, believed to have once housed thousands of workers and priests, has been completely fenced off for decades. Local accounts describe deep shafts and strange inscriptions that don't match other Egyptian writings. Researchers have reported bizarre magnetic anomalies in the area, and rumors say multiple archaeological teams have gone in and never published their findings. The site is under government watch and no further digs are allowed. Some claim it's due to safety, and others whisper it's because what was found shouldn't have been. Herodotus once described a labyrinth so vast it made the pyramids look simple. Archaeologists found it, but were then told to stop digging. The Hawara site, located in the Fayum Oasis, is home to the Pyramid of Amenemhat III, but below that lies something far more bizarre. A vast underground structure described by ancient historians as a labyrinth of 3,000 rooms. In 2008, radar scans by a Belgian-Egyptian team confirmed the presence of enormous chambers beneath the ground, but right after their findings were published, the excavation was suddenly halted. Egypt's authorities Authorities stated concerns about groundwater and preservation, but skeptics believe that something more was found, something that made authorities nervous. To this day, the site remains sealed and no permits are granted. In the middle of nowhere, satellite images picked up what looked like ruins. Then the military moved in. Bir Qasaiba lies deep in the western desert near Egypt's border with Sudan. In 2010, remote sensing archaeologists discovered strange stone formations that looked like streets, homes, and even temple foundations. But before excavations could begin, the Egyptian military took control of the area. They claimed that the site was in a sensitive border zone, but the local tribes say the ruins have always been considered cursed. Some even speak of ancient lights in the sky and how travelers who stayed overnight there never came back the same. No one is allowed in, and no research is allowed out.
Things off with the White House Situation Room. The Situation Room is the nerve center for the United States national security and crisis management. It may be an utter shock to you, but this place is off limits to the public, and even access by government officials is tightly controlled. Its main purpose is to provide the president with up-to-the-minute info during emergencies and crises, from military actions to natural disasters. The room is equipped with advanced communication technology, classified information systems, and video conferencing capabilities so that the president has all the necessary tools to make critical decisions. I'm picturing that scene in like every big budget action movie where there's a bunch of guys in suits sitting around a big table. There's a big like floating head talking about this is going on here and all these screens popping up. Probably doesn't look anything like that, but one can hope. Of course, anything top secret where the government is concerned has its fair share of conspiracies attached to it. One is that the Situation Room has secret archives containing information about extraterrestrial encounters or advanced technology. Another is that the Situation Room has been used for covert operations and shadowy government activities, which isn't really a conspiracy. That's just obviously exactly true. Number 9, the Coca-Cola Vault. Deep in the bowels of the World of Coca-Cola Museum in Atlanta, there is a vault that houses one of the most top secret artifacts in the United States of America. Legend has it that this vault safeguards the secret recipe for Coca-Cola, the closely guarded elixir that has delighted the taste buds of not just Americans, but soda freaks from all over the world for over a century. The level of protection here is almost on par with Fort Knox, but of course, where there's a vault, there are bound to be whispers and rumors. Some suggest that the recipe is actually stored on an ancient scroll guarded by a mythical soda deity. Others wonder if the vault conceals a secret passage to a parallel soda universe. Unfortunately, unless you spend your days striving for employment at this establishment in order to tend to the vault yourself, you and I will never truly know what wonders are stored inside that place. There are wonders that are very much available to you right here on this channel, so hit that subscribe button. Now let's turn our attention to the legendary Fort Knox. This fortress was established in 1936 in Kentucky. It's a highly secure facility that houses a significant portion of the US government's gold reserves. It's surrounded by layers of defense. Its security measures include armed guards, electronic surveillance, and impenetrable vaults. The depository's primary purpose is to safeguard the nation's wealth, but what else could they be holding in there? One claim suggests that the gold within Fort Knox has actually been replaced with replicas in order to kind of avert everyone's attention from the real location of the goods. Another theory is that Fort Knox holds more than just gold. Classified documents, advanced technology, or even extraterrestrial artifacts safely hidden inside these impenetrable vaults. Number 7, Area 51. Hard to avoid talking about Area 51 in a list like this. Situated within the larger Edwards Air Force Base, Area 51 has been a hub for aircraft testing and pilot training since 1955. But as we all know, gaining entry into this place is basically impossible unless you work there. So what's happening inside those heavily guarded fences? Well, officially, it's about testing cutting-edge aircraft and training top-notch pilots. There may also be top-secret military planes and likely highly advanced technology housed in there as well. But the extraterrestrial angle is what fascinates the vast majority of people. Rumors have been swirling for ages that Area 51 is ground zero for UFO activity. According to many UFO and alien enthusiasts, this is where the government stashes crashed flying saucers and reverse engineers alien tech. Even though the government finally admitted Area 51 existed in the late 90s, it didn't exactly clear up all the mystery. Declassified documents spilled some of the beans about its aerospace research role, but the place still very much has this aura of intrigue around it. In at number 6, we have Club 33 in Disneyland. This Disneyland secret society adds a layer of mystery to the happiest place on Earth. Located in several Disney parks across the globe, Club 33 is a hidden oasis of luxury and exclusivity. The story goes that Club 33 was originally conceived as a private escape for Walt Disney to entertain special guests. Since its opening in 1967, it's become the stuff of theme park legend. Getting into Club 33 is no small feat. The entrance is unassuming, marked only by a simple address plaque and a discreet doorbell. Behind this unassuming facade lies a world of wonder, complete with a lavish dining area, exclusive events, and a balcony that offers a bird's eye view of the park. There are lots of urban legends about Club 33, that there are secret passages connecting the club to other parts of the park so that special guests can move through Disneyland out of the public eye. There's a pretty great story on Reddit about Club 33, in a thread asking folks who have worked there what the club is like. One Redditor chimed in saying he worked at Disneyland and a coworker of his had gone to the bathroom in Club 33 and was very impressed with the fancy toilet paper, so he decided to take some of it home with him. And then from behind him he heard a voice say, "Make sure you leave some for me." Then he turned around and it was none other than Nicolas Cage, which you probably guessed based on my incredible impression.
Number 5, Palmerston Island. We're probably not going to see a season of Survivor here. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. Palmerston Island is a coral paradise located in the Cook Islands in the Pacific Ocean. Now, Palmerston is a very islet in a series of smaller islets that are on a set of coral rings. It's basically built on a coral reef that encloses a lagoon. It's the hardest place to get to. The only one of these islets that's inhabited, it's one that's called home, ironically. The closest island to Palmerston is Rarotonga, which is the capital of the Cook Islands, and it would be about 2-day sailing trip to make it to the 500-kilometer distance, so you gotta have those arms warmed up, I guess. But if you aren't already on that island or planning to stop at both of these islands, the next closest trip would be about an 8-day sail from Tahiti. Now, since the islet is so small, there of course is no airports, so ships are the only way to get here, and supply ships only visit the inhabited island a few times a year. The reef only allows room for smaller boats to pass through, which makes any kind of larger ship unsafe to pass through. Obviously, it's not worth it to even take a large yacht. The island does see a tropical climate, but it's very exposed to tropical cyclones as well, which of course can cause a whole set of problems. So, worth it? Probably not. Just avoid it. Number 4, Valle du Javari. When I do videos on these isolated tribes of these worlds, we always mention Valle du Javari quite a few times because it's the home to the highest concentration of uncontacted tribes in the world. And that's part of the reason we know so little about it. And it's clear that this region has everything we need to sustain life, as many people live entirely off of the land and all it has to offer. But much of it remains a mystery, of course, which truthfully is probably a good thing. If we got involved, we'd probably throw a Disneyland there or something horrible. Aside from this area being protected in order to preserve the uncontacted tribes, the area is also surrounded by rivers that often flood or have currents that are too strong to even travel through, which doesn't make it easy to even get to. So again, leave it alone. Number 3, Marianas Trench. Around 71% of the Earth is covered in water, and yet the oceans are the places we know the least about, which is kind of terrifying when you think about it. Marianas Trench is located in the western part of the Pacific Ocean, just east of the Philippines, and it's the deepest part of our planet's ocean. It's scary to think of. It's really, I don't like it. James Cameron went there once, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna make 5 avatars. What did he see, right? I have some questions. The trench is in the shape of a crescent, and it's about 2,550 kilometers long and 69 kilometers wide. Its exact depth is unknown, but what we do know is that if we took Mount Everest, we'd be able to just fully put it in the trench, and its summit would still be underwater by more than 2 kilometers. So yeah, horrifyingly deep. The pressure is so deep in the ocean that it's far too great for humans to withstand. The temperature is also just above freezing, and it's impossibly dark. We're actually closer to tourists visiting Mars on an average than we are with tourists visiting Marianas Trench. You know what I mean? That's a weird truth. There have been a very small number of divers who have explored what is called the Challenger Deep, which is the deepest known spot of the trench, but of course not without super heavy duty equipment like a massive submarine, and no one's been able to stay there for an extended amount of time because they'll get squished. Most of it still remains a mystery. Yeah, anything that lives down there too, also a complete mystery. Some deep sea squid, I'm all set. Number 2, Singi National Park. Singi National Park is located on the western edge of Madagascar, but today I want to talk about the 2 large geographical features in said park, which are Big Singi and Little Singi. Now, Singi can be translated into English as roughly where one cannot walk bare feet, and when you see this, you'll realize why it's named such. These rock formations are just jagged. It looks like something you'd find in outer space. They have these deep ruts cut into them by the groundwater, which has left them totally unable to be walked on or through. It's just, like I said, it's like something from outer space. This whole area is incredibly fascinating, and it's home to many endemic species because of its, unusual geography. Some of these species are found only within extremely small areas within the Singis because the summit, slope, and base of one limestone needle will all form completely different ecosystems, which is unbelievable. Every area has like its own creature that just comes out of nowhere. The Singis are a perfect example of what happens when humans leave a place alone and let nature and the earth just exist, right? Minus Disneyland's. It would be an amazing place to go to and explore, but because of the nature and the limestone needles, we can't just walk around with our Crocs. So again, leave it alone. And finally, number 1, Siwa Oasis. Siwa is an urban oasis between the Katara Depression and the Great Sand Sea in the Western Desert. The oasis is one of Egypt's most isolated settlements, but it's still home to around 33,000 people. The residents have developed a unique and isolated desert culture and language called Siwi, but they're also fluent in an Egyptian dialect of Arabic. The oasis isn't necessarily a super popular tourist destination, as the closest city is Cairo, and the oasis is still a 5-hour bus ride away, and obviously it's in the middle of the desert. But those who do take the trip certainly are not disappointed. If visiting, you can enjoy some locally grown dates and olives, which I can only imagine are just incredible. You can also swim in Cleopatra's Bath, which is a mineral spring, and you can even stay at the Desert Eco Lodge, which is built from mud and salt. That's beautiful. Tourism is actually a vital source of income for the oasis, so visitors here are welcome. I want to finish on a nice number 1 where it's like, you know what, this one you actually can go to if you're brave enough. Because of how isolated Siwa is, the culture and traditions of the people who live here really have been preserved, which would make it such an interesting and wonderful place to visit if you have the opportunity.
Bangkar Fort is up next. Bangkar Fort is one of India's most infamous haunted, cursed sites. If historians want a chance at exploring this place, they can, just not at night. It's forbidden after dark. The Archaeological Survey of India has imposed a strict rule. No one is allowed to enter the fort after sunset. A sign at the entrance warns visitors about the curse and the dangers of staying after sunset. Well, that's not ominous at all. So what exactly is all the fuss about going here after dark? What is this curse? Well, legend has it that a powerful tantric coveted the beauty of a princess who lived within the fort. He tried to cast a spell on her using a love potion, but his plan was stopped by the princess, and in a fit of rage, the tantric cursed the entire city, dooming it to eternal desolation. So everyone up and left. Some versions of the story go that the curse was triggered when the shadow of a newly built structure fell on the tantric's meditation spot. The fort now stands completely abandoned, a silent reminder of this eerie tale. Its crumbling structures, overgrown vegetation, and eerie silence create a haunting atmosphere even in the daytime. Visitors often report strange things going on here. Unexplained noises, sudden drops in temperature, and feelings of being watched. The Archaeological Survey of India has placed a sign at the entrance warning visitors not to stay after sunset, and really, you should probably listen to it if you're a believer in paranormal stuff, that is. Now we have Ross Island in the South Andaman district of India. This has become a ghost town, but at one time it was a British colonial settlement. The island has witnessed a series of misfortunes, including disease outbreaks, natural disasters, and war. These events have left their mark on the island, contributing to its eerie ambience. There's lots of local legends and folklore about the island, with many believing it to be haunted by the spirits of those who once lived and died here. Visitors often report strange occurrences, unexplained noises, feelings that there's someone else around when there isn't, and combined with the fact with just how this place looks, it's really cool with vines and everything starting to creep in, but it is definitely eerie. Access to some parts of the island are restricted, adding to its mystique and allure. The forbidden areas are shrouded in mystery, and they fuel speculation about the secrets that they may hold. In the LA suburb of Downey, you'll find a fenced-off, boarded-up area known as the Old LA County Poor Farm. This place has a history that dates back to 1887 when the LA County Board of Supervisors decided to create a facility for the homeless. They bought 124 acres of farmland near Downey, where they built homes and offices to house and support residents. The farm wasn't just a place to live, it was also a working farm. By 1910, it had expanded to 400 acres, growing crops and raising livestock, becoming self-sustaining. The idea was pretty forward-thinking, providing food for residents and selling the surplus for profit. We could use more places like this today, but like most things, it changed over time. In 1915, a new superintendent came in, and the Great Depression added its own set of problems, leading to a tent city being set up. During World War II, part of the farm then became an army base. By the 50s, the farm aspect was abandoned in favor of turning it into a hospital. By the 80s, the hospital moved across the street, leaving the poor farm empty and forgotten. And today, this site is completely off limits without special permits, surrounded by no trespassing signs and barbed wire. But in 2006, Marines were using the area for a training exercise when they came across a freezer. They decided to take a look inside and found that it was filled with mummified body parts. Moving on to Poveglia Island. Access to Poveglia Island is restricted. In the 20th century, Poveglia's already sinister reputation deepened when it was converted into a mental asylum. The asylum was notorious for its brutal treatments, including lobotomies and other experimental procedures. Patients were subjected to horrific conditions here, and many met tragic ends. But like I said, the island was already ominous itself. It had served as a quarantine station, plague victims during the 18th century. Countless individuals were brought to the island to die. Their remains were then buried in mass graves. Today, the island remains abandoned, its decaying buildings and eerie atmosphere adding to its haunting allure. Local legends and folklore surround it now, with many believing the island to be haunted by the spirits of those who suffered and died there.
Coming in at number 5, Turkmenistan. Located in Central Asia, the extensive process to even be considered entry into this country is enough to keep your distance. First off, before you are even able to think about visiting, this is not a country that you can decide to visit. You have to be directly invited either by a citizen of the country or by a company, and they have to submit a request to have you enter, to the state migration service. If the request to have you enter is approved, you will then need to apply for a visa, and upon arrival in the country, there is a migration card that you have to register and pay for in order to be granted. From there, if your planned stay will last longer than days, you must notify authorities and register your visit, as well as deregister once you leave. Failure to do any of these steps can result in fines, arrest, and even deportation. Now, put aside the leaps you have to make to be allowed to enter. According to official travel advice from the government, this place is a very, very high risk due to tensions in the region with bordering countries, especially for women. So really, it's just not the place to visit. Next up in our number 4 spot, Saudi Arabia. Officially the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, this country happens to be a bit of a mixed bag of requirements depending on the country of origin the visitor is hailing from. On one hand, citizens from Kuwait, Bahrain, Oman, or the UAE do not require a visa for entry and can pretty much travel freely. However, if you are coming from just about any other country, a special visa application is absolutely required. Now, beyond that, most of their limited tourism tends to be for religious pilgrimages anyways, but even if you are traveling for leisure, similarly to other countries on the list, your application must still be sponsored by a group, organization, or a citizen of the country. Plus, if you are a woman, you're not permitted to travel alone and must be met by either a male relative or male sponsor at the airport. So definitely not the girls' trip destination. But seriously, the official stance is that visiting this country is an extremely high-risk decision due to conflicts with bordering countries as well as kidnappings, so truly there are more relaxing places to choose from. Coming in at number 3, Angola. On the western side of Africa, you'll find the country of Angola, and well, once again, this is not the country at the top of my vacation list. Now, unlike some of the others on this list, the actual job of getting into the country isn't quite as difficult. It's not really forbidden to visit this this place. They just require you to have a visa, criminal clearance certificate prior to departure, proof of a return flight, and a yellow fever vaccination, none of which are out of the ordinary. But to be clear, this is a very strict requirement because if you don't have it all squared away prior to your arrival, they can arrest or deport you back to your home country. That being said, there are still dangers associated with travel here, but probably not the kind you might think. While it's warned there is quite a bit of crime, especially in the capital, targeted towards tourists, including kidnapping, mugging, and carjacking, one of the scariest dangers are the landmines. Roads and bridges, both in larger cities and the countryside, are frequently targeted, and honestly, you just never know when you could come across one. So just take the official travel advice and avoid this one. Coming in at number 2, Syria. I'm sure this one doesn't come as much of a shock, considering what we know about the major conflicts that have been going on here, but of course, that is why I had to add it to today's list. If you Google the Canadian government travel advisories, this country comes up in giant red letters saying to avoid at all costs and that if you are here, you need to leave immediately. Sadly, this is due to the threat of terror from organized extremist groups, as well as politically motivated kidnappings by these same groups that often result in disappearance or death of a victim. Beyond the already terrifying things I've mentioned, women are especially at great risk traveling here alone, and there is also a major issue with pickpocketing, mugging, and general petty theft. Plus, since 2011, most commercial airlines have suspended flights anyways, so it's practically impossible to enter, even if you tried. That being said, if you fill out the required paperwork, there is a chance you can go, but I mean truly, this place is an active war zone, so traveling there is 100% a bad idea. And last up in our number 1 spot, North Korea. Now I'm sure most of you knew this one was coming. I mean, it's pretty well known that traveling to North Korea was never the easiest thing in the world to begin with, and actually since 2020, it's been off limits anyway due to the global you-know-what. However, that wasn't always the case. Prior to that, you were technically able to visit. I mean, well, sort of, depending on the country you lived in, but the hoops you had to jump through to get there, mixed with the strict conditions that followed in order to be a tourist here, made it not only a nearly impossible destination, but a very dangerous one too. When it came to North Korea, the only way to be allowed past the borders was to A, have a valid visa for entry detailing the specific date of arrival, and B, book an official group tour, all of which are government run and owned. From there, if you follow all the strict application rules and manage to actually get in the country, there was no moment where you weren't being strictly watched and guided through what you were permitted to see, which to me is not how I want to spend my vacation. Okay, but seriously, there are literally so many things that can go wrong, and people have legitimately been arrested and jailed for years simply for removing posters from a wall. And even if borders do open up again one day, you are 100% putting yourself at risk traveling here, so just don't do it.
Number 10. Sandy Island. This island's located in the South Pacific. Apparently. Maybe it's not. We're not really sure yet. It's only been visited by a handful of people throughout history, but it will most likely remain uncharted forever, officially. See, the island seemingly disappeared. Yeah, it's gone. Yeah, someone lost an island. They're like, wait, was it this? West or east? I thought it was. The island's gone. Today we have islands appearing out of the ocean, but back then, this one vanished. Back in the late 19th century, Sandy Island was noted on a number of maps and nautical charts, of course. But years ago, people went to go check it out and they found nothing in the area. Yep, just water. Just a mystery South Pacific island. Yeah, we love those. Let's book a flight, I guess. It was located, supposedly, between Australia and New Caledonia. But where could it have gone, right? What's the deal here? What happened? Was it purposely put on the wrong location on maps, or was it a human error? Either way, I want answers. Maybe it's just the planet flooding. It's probably that. It's probably that. That's sad. Number 9. Lake Vostok. Lake Vostok is one of Earth's lost worlds, okay? Despite it being the world's 6th largest lake by volume, and us living so close to a massive lake, I'm like, what? There was another one? Who knew? We don't talk about this one often because it's a subglacial lake that has been covered in a thick layer of ice for millions and millions of years. I'm Canadian, and I'm like, you know what? I'll still swim in it. Let's do it. I'll do anything. Because of this thick layer of ice, there's little to no sunlight that's actually able to reach the water. But despite this and freezing cold temperature, it's believed that somehow this lake is home to many undiscovered species. It's extremely difficult to search this water because of the, ice, and scientists thankfully don't want to contaminate the water with things like antifreeze or anything like that just to find out. So for now, the lake and all it has to offer, it's gonna stay unknown and unexplored. So no tubing anytime soon, I don't think. Number 8, the Amazon rainforest. Here we go, I'm itchy thinking about this one. The Amazon rainforest is massive. It covers a total area of 2.5 million square miles, right? It's bigger than we can even imagine. And it's home to the most beautiful animals and wildlife. Now, due to its size and dangers, a large part of the Amazon rainforest is uncharted. We have no idea what it looks like in any sense. In fact, it's considered one of the least explored areas on Earth. One of the reasons why this is the case is because not only is the forest filled with deadly animals like jaguars and anacondas, Brazilian wandering spiders, everything that makes you go, ugh, nope, stuff like that, but also explorers would have a tough time getting access to enough food and clean drinking water because, it's still the Amazon. There's not gonna be a Starbucks around where you can can you just fill this up, please? It's just water, thanks so much. Can you make me a milkshake at 6 a.m.? Thanks. And not only that, the Amazon gets rain all year round, which can cause heavy flooding. Trench foot, that's probably pretty bad. The water levels can rise and flood, and it makes transportation through the area way too dangerous and not worth it. So we're gonna leave it alone, for now at least. Number 7, Cape Melville. Cape Melville is located in Australia, and it's home to another lost world of Earth, okay? Which is just something we have no idea that even exists. Here we go. It truthfully wasn't discovered until recently, and that's due to the surrounding, wall of granite boulders that are hundreds of feet tall. That probably has something to do with it, okay? But inside this stone wall, it's amazing. It's mysterious and uncharted. It's this massive rainforest, which is just the coolest thing ever. Because of the more recent discovery and the lack of exploration, this area has been preserved in its natural state, which is something not easily found on our superpopulated, disgusting planet. This place is only accessible by helicopter, which is kind of badass if you really want to do it, and it's only seen one major scientific exploration yet. But on this one adventure, at least 3 new species were discovered, including the leaf-tailed gecko. Yeah, check this guy out. We found a dinosaur. How lovely is that? I'm sure there's going to be further research of this area to learn about all these endemic species that live there and, to study how they evolved to fit this interesting ecosystem. But for now, yeah, let's just leave it alone. Looks like something from Game of Thrones. It's horrible. Number 6, La Rinconada. This town is located near the Peruvian Andes. It's very close to a gold mine, and it's actually the highest permanent settlement in the world at 5,100 meters above sea level. Between 2001 and 2009, the population of the town increased greatly because the price of gold rose 235% during that time. So yeah, people are gonna come out. Now because of that elevation, the town has an alpine tundra climate and an average temperature of around 1 degree Celsius, so it's not comfortable. Many of those who work for the gold mines here work under a pretty horrible condition. They work 25 days in the month for no pay, and then for 5 days in the month, they can work for themselves, and they're allowed to take as much ore as they can carry on their shoulders alone. It's horrible. There's no guarantee that the ore will have any gold in it also. This is a terrible system, and it's why many of the town's residents still live in poverty. The town is a 6-hour bus ride from the nearest city on an unpaved road, and there's not really a regular bus schedule which goes back and forth, so it's gonna be a really hard place to get to.
Next, we move on to the Los Alamos National Laboratory, a scientific powerhouse in the mountains of New Mexico. It was established as Project Y during World War II as part of the Manhattan Project. It's probably most famous for its work in nuclear research. Nuclear. Nobody likes how I pronounce nuclear. I say nuclear, and it's nuclear. Nuclear. And it's probably most famous for its work in nuclear research. It's a sprawling complex full of some of the world's top scientists. The laboratory has been at the forefront of developing groundbreaking technology with a primary focus on nuclear weapons. It's the birthplace of the atomic bomb. Today, Los Alamos dives into everything from national security and defense to cutting-edge scientific exploration, and there's no doubt they're working on some insane top secret projects in there. Classified technology and experiments that go way beyond what's publicly known. The Dugway Proving Ground. This facility was originally conceived as a testing site for chemical weapons during World War II. Over the years, its mission evolved to encompass a broader range of responsibilities, including the evaluation of defensive measures against biological and chemical threats. The facility became more prominent during the Cold War, when the threat of chemical and biological warfare was a real looming threat. It became a hub for research and testing aimed at developing effective countermeasures and protective gear. Dugway has vast
vast and meticulously controlled testing grounds. The size of the area makes for a variety of simulations and scenarios, helping researchers and military understand the potential impacts of chemical and biological weapons in different conditions. Some speculate, though, that the facility is actually involved in experiments not just having to do with defense. Number 3, Camp Perry. Established during World War II to train Navy Seabees, things became far more covert during the Cold War. As for exactly what goes on there now, there's still a bit of mystery to it. In the early 50s, though, the base underwent a transformation, becoming a key component in the world of intelligence gathering. The most well-known function of Camp Perry is its training facility for the CIA, often referred to as the Farm. This secretive aspect of the base focuses on training CIA officers in the art of espionage, covert operations, and intelligence gathering. The site's remote location is ideal for this, adding an extra layer of security, shielding it from prying eyes. It's also classified as a black site, meaning it's a secret facility involved in covert activity. The base has, of course, been a breeding ground for speculation and conspiracy because of how heavily restricted it is. A significant portion of the activities going on there remain classified. There are theories that the base is involved in extraterrestrial research or that it houses advanced technology hidden from the public eye. The Nevada National Security Site, formerly known as the Nevada Test Site, this expansive area is used for the development and testing of nuclear weapons, located about 65 miles northwest of Las Vegas. The Nevada National Security Site has seen over 1,000 nuclear tests since its establishment in 1951. These tests range from above-ground explosions to underground experiments, and today the site is no longer used for active nuclear testing, but it's still used for various national security activities. The specifics of these activities are unsurprisingly classified. The Nevada National Security Site is managed by the National Nuclear Security Administration, or the NNSA, a branch of the U.S. Department of Energy. Access to the site is restricted, and it operates with a high level of security, which is good when there's nuclear bombs involved. And finally, we have the NRO, or the National Reconnaissance Office. Based in Virginia, the NRO is in the business of keeping an eye on things from way up there in the sky. And by things, I also mean us. They're the folks responsible for designing, building, and operating those hush-hush reconnaissance satellites that orbit the Earth. These satellites are high-tech eyes in the sky, capturing all sorts of intel from keeping tabs on potential threats to monitoring national disasters. Then they analyze the intel and pass the info on to other organizations like the CIA. Now, when it comes to secrecy, the NRO takes it to another level. They are very tight-lipped about the nitty-gritty details of their operations. Information is power, after all. The question on everyone's mind, of course, is what are these satellites really peeking at? The specifics are classified. It's clear, though, that the NRO plays a big role in national security. Access to information about the NRO's day-to-day operations is very limited, and that naturally fuels a lot of speculation. Like, just how much are they really paying attention to up there?